Meiman. I watch the battle and pick up attributes, 10,000 times critical strike. Chapter 21. Not to mention Logan, even Daisy was so angry that her teeth itched when she heard this. This Sabretooth is really too despicable. He's too infuriating. Quote. Hearing Sabretooth's words, Logan completely exploded and was unable to restrain his anger. I'm going to kill you. Pissed. The bone claws pierced through his skin, dripping with blood. Every time he used the claws, Logan would feel the pain of his skin being torn apart. In the corner, Li Shu's eyes flashed and he took a sip of wine. The battle had finally begun. Logan roared angrily and rushed towards Sabretooth. The bloody bone spur stabbed towards his opponent. Sabretooth also stood up. His claws grew longer and harder. He waved his hand to block the bone spur. Then, he kicked out and sent Logan flying, smashing a table into pieces. This scene. It scared the few people in the bar. Everyone screamed and fled out of the bar. No one noticed that in a dark corner, a person was leisurely drinking wine, and there was not the slightest ripple in his eyes. It seems that these years of comfortable life have made you regress a lot, Sabretooth sneered. Logan was unable to restrain his anger. His eyes were extremely bloodshot. He got up and rushed towards Sabretooth again. I'm going to kill you. The two of them tangled together. Bang bang bang. The tables around them were constantly smashed by the two of them. Wine glasses and bottles fell to the ground one after another. Broken wood flew everywhere, glass splashed everywhere, and wine spilled everywhere. The strong smell of wine mixed with the smell of blood. The entire bar was a mess. In this fight, the one who was mainly injured was Wolverine, while Sabretooth was basically unharmed. Seeing this scene, Daisy was worried for Wolverine. Li Shu was not surprised. Because Wolverine at the moment was inferior to Sabretooth in all aspects except for his self-healing ability. Whether it was combat skills or physical strength, he was far inferior to Sabretooth. Originally, Sabretooth was slightly better in all aspects. Later, Wolverine retired and his combat skills regressed. He was even less of a match for Sabretooth. The bar owner stood in the room behind the bar counter. When he saw the state of his bar, he wanted to die. He really couldn't understand why he had to suffer like this. Li Shu, who was sitting in the corner, was feeling a little gloomy. Since the start of the battle, not a single item had been dropped. Li Shu couldn't help but mutter to himself, these two fellas, are they not going to drop anything tonight? I shouldn't be that unlucky, right? Keep dropping. His gaze once again fell on the two people who were fighting. Wolverine stood up again. There were many wounds on his body, and blood was flowing out. On the other hand, Sabretooth only had some scratches on its body. Wolverine had just stood up. Sabretooth roared angrily and rushed forward. He grabbed Wolverine's waist and slammed him away. Hung. There was a rumbling sound. It directly broke through the thick wooden wall. Wolverine fell to the ground. Wolverine screamed in pain as blood spurted out from his mouth. Seeing the two of them fight, they walked out of the bar. Li Shu also stood up and walked towards the cave entrance. He saw Li Shu walking out. The kind bar owner hurriedly shouted in a low voice, "What are you doing? It's dangerous outside. If you escape now, you'll be easily affected." Quote. Li Shu waved his hand, indicating that there was no need to worry. He came to the broken hole and continued to watch the battle outside. The boss looked at Li Shu's back, shook his head, and muttered, young people nowadays don't even care about their lives when they watch a show. As soon as Li Shu went out, he saw a ball of light drop from Wolverine's body. His eyes suddenly lit up. Good fellow. Something finally dropped. The long-lost mechanical sound once again sounded in his ears. Ding. Wolverine dropped Wolverine's monster sense of smell, bronze elementary level. Do you want to withdraw it? Quote. At the same time, the corresponding information also entered Li Shu's mind. Wolverine's monster sense of smell can use a strong sense of smell to identify others, and can determine the entire process of the incident through smell. Can even smell the spectrum. Seeing the dropped item, Li Shu was a little disappointed at first because it wasn't a self-healing ability. But immediately, his eyes lit up again. This was because the item that was dropped was an extremely powerful support ability. Wolverine's sense of smell allowed him to identify everyone, and he definitely wouldn't get it wrong. Mystique could change her appearance, and even make it look exactly like another person, making it impossible for others to distinguish her, but Wolverine could easily recognize her. Because everyone's smell was different, it couldn't be changed. At most, other things could be used to cover it. But Wolverine's strong sense of smell was that he could easily smell things that didn't change, through the covered smell, and smell the core smell of the lowest level. With this ability, he could easily distinguish others, even Mystique couldn't fool him. In addition, this ability also complemented the ESP ability. The ESP ability could only sense the environment within a range of 30 to 50 meters, but the monster's sense of smell could smell people further away. It was also with the strong sense of smell that Wolverine could reconstruct the process of an incident. For example, in the manga, Wolverine went to find the Hulk at Black Brute's request. He went to a bar to drink, and he smelled a coin from a man, with the smell of the Hulk on it. The man took out the coin and asked Wolverine to guess where the coin came from. With his strong sense of smell, Wolverine could smell the different scents on the coin from different periods. First, the most recent smell on the coin was of a person with the smell of milk. He could smell that it was the smell of a child. So he opened his mouth and said that it was from a child to a man. The man was shocked. Wolverine smelled the smell of grass, cattle, and soil from the child. He could smell what the child was. It was a cowherd. The man's surprised expression proved that Wolverine was right again. Then Wolverine smelled the smell of Snow Mountain, a cave, and the Hulk from it. The cowherd went to the cave and found the Hulk to exchange the coin. And the reality was just as Wolverine said. Wolverine was able to deduce the whole story with a single coin. It was very powerful. Li Shu's eyes lit up slightly. This sense of smell was very strong. He said in his heart, "Pick it up." Ding. Wolverine's monster sense of smell has been picked up. Triggered tenfold critical hit, you receive. Ding. Wolverine's monster sense of smell has been picked up. 10 times critical hit has been triggered. You have received Wolverine's strengthening monster sense of smell and olfactory memory, bronze high level. Wolverine's strengthening monster sense of smell and olfactory memory. You have received a stronger sense of smell. The range has increased from 20 to 50 meters to 50 to 100 meters. Wolverine has lived for so many years. He has a huge store of olfactory memory. He can almost tell which brand and model of chewing gum is and where the raw materials of clothes come from. The next moment, a large amount of olfactory memory flooded into his mind. He instantly understood that the world of smell could be so vast and complicated. A gentle and wonderful power entered his nose. Then, he felt that the world of smell had undergone a drastic change. The range of his sense of smell expanded wildly. The world of smell became colorful and rich. He could smell all kinds of scents in the air and separate them from each other. Li Shu closed his eyes slightly. He could smell the wine from a small winery called Carl in the Loire Valley of the Enamel Kingdom. He could also smell the whiskey from the Isle of Islay in Scotland. He could clearly smell the source and production of all kinds of alcohol in the air. He could also smell that not long ago, there were 7 people drinking in this bar. 4 men and 3 women. He opened his eyes again, and a smile appeared on his face. Because he also had Wolverine's enormous olfactory memory, he could clearly smell the origin, brand, and even the alcohol content of each wine. Wolverine had lived for 200 to 300 years. This caused him to have a very rich olfactory memory. Basically, he had smelled most things in the world. With Wolverine's olfactory memories, he could save himself a lot of time and effort. Li Shu was very satisfied with this ability. It would allow him to better track, distinguish, and restore events. In front, the battle was still ongoing. But it was nearing the end. Logan was already covered in wounds and did not have much energy to fight with Sabretooth. On the other hand, Sabretooth still had energy left. He was calm and composed. As soon as Logan stood up, Sabretooth rushed forward, lifted Logan, and smashed him. Logan's waist hit the top corner of the forklift. The pain made Logan cry out in pain. Bang! Logan fell to the ground. Sabretooth went up to pick him up and threw him over his shoulder. Logan was once again slammed heavily onto the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. When Daisy saw this, she couldn't bear it anymore. "Boss, please help this poor man." Li Shu did not move. "I can't do anything. There are some things that he has to experience himself. There are some grudges that he has to avenge himself. He needs pain, he needs metamorphosis. Trust me, Sabretooth won't thank me for killing him. Li Shu did not step forward to stop Wolverine from being beaten. To be honest, Wolverine was also a character that he liked in his previous life, especially the tragic death at the end. However, Li Shu understood that if Logan wanted to evolve into a Wolverine, this series of setbacks was necessary. Only extreme pain would allow Logan to regain his will to fight. Only extreme hatred could allow Logan to withstand the excruciating pain of being implanted with adamantium and not have a mental breakdown. Only then could Logan evolve into Wolverine. When Daisy heard her boss's words, she didn't really understand. However, she felt that her boss's words made sense and gave off a philosophical feeling. She nodded obediently. Oh. Sabretooth looked at Wolverine on the ground and sneered. What makes you think you can fight me? You're inferior to me in every aspect. Technique, physical fitness, reflexes, etc. You're inferior to me. Moreover, you've been lax for so long. Logan, you've really degenerated into a piece of trash. Quote. Sabretooth shook his head and stood in front of Logan. He lifted his leg and stomped down heavily, smashing Logan's bony claws. Intense pain traveled into Logan's brain. He let out an ear-piercing scream. His face was distorted and large beads of sweat seeped out. His lips were pale. Then, Logan fainted. Logan's bony claws were shattered. It represented the shattering of the past and the shattering of the fragile. It also represented the birth of a new and firm Wolverine. The hard steel claws were about to break through the skin and replace the bony claws of the past. Li Shu sighed slightly. He wasn't just sighing because Logan had been beaten up. He was also sighing because this time, only one ability had appeared. This made him slightly disappointed. The next moment, a ball of light dropped from Sabretooth and Wolverine. Li Shu's eyes lit up. At the last moment, 2 balls of light had dropped. Not bad. Daisy looked at the pitiful state of Iron Wolf and her small face was slightly bitter. Logan is so pitiful. His lover was killed by the other party. He came to avenge himself and was tortured beyond recognition. She sighed. The big-breasted girl was quite kind. She couldn't bear to see people who didn't do evil suffer. Li Shu took a step forward. This pain is something Logan has to accept. I can't stop it. Now, Logan has been baptized. So, I'll loosen up my muscles and bones. There won't be a problem. What I can't stand the most is for someone to be even more arrogant than me. Hearing Li Shu's words, the big-breasted girl's almond-shaped eyes lit up. A trace of surprise crept onto her face. The boss is going to make a move. This guy is going to suffer. Quote. Hee hee. The girl raised her pink fist. Come on, boss. I'll raise the flag for you. Ow ow. Quote. Sabretooth took care of Wolverine and made a phone call. He saw a person walk out of the bar. The night was dark. That person seemed to have blended in with the darkness. His face couldn't be seen clearly. Sabretooth glanced at the other party and said lightly, hurry up and get lost, trash. Otherwise, I'll take care of you too. A chuckle came from the other side. Very arrogant. I hope you can keep it up. The next moment, Sabretooth's pupils shrank to the size of needles. His pupils were trembling slightly. Boom. The terrifying sound of tearing air rang out. That person was like the fastest arrow. He broke through the air and crossed over in the blink of an eye. His speed was so fast that it made one's hair stand on end. It made Sabretooth's scalp tingle. A handsome face appeared from the darkness. A fist drew a mysterious arc in the air as it blasted toward Sabretooth. Boom. The air exploded. The power was terrifying. The power was terrifying. Sabretooth wanted to dodge, but it was too late. The other party was too fast. In the blink of an eye, he did not give him any time to react. Bang! There was a heavy muffled sound. The fist landed on Sabretooth's face. He was sent flying like a cannonball. Boom boom boom. He crashed into the thick trees and broke them one after another. Sabretooth fell heavily to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, Sabretooth felt as if his entire body had been crushed. An intense pain filled his entire body, and he was in extreme pain. The assistant saw Sabretooth get punched. She felt happy and quickly clapped. Boss is so cool. However, the bar's camera could not see further and could not see Sabretooth's miserable state. This made the assistant feel a little regretful. She crossed her arms in front of her chest and said regretfully, it's a pity that I can't see that guy's miserable state. She looked at the boss through the camera and a trace of admiration flashed across her eyes. This was her big boss, a real superhero. A real powerhouse. The assistant felt a little proud to be able to work for such a person. The bar owner also saw this scene through the hole. His mouth was wide open, and his chin seemed to be about to fall to the ground. He did not expect this customer to be so powerful. He did not expect so many monsters to appear in his small bar tonight. Just now, he was worried that this customer would be injured, but in the blink of an eye, that terrifying guy was pressed to the ground. The bar owner looked at Li Shu's back and the corner of his mouth twitched. I take back what I said about underestimating you. Sabretooth was sent flying. Li Shu followed closely behind and shot into the forest. In a few breaths, he arrived in front of Sabretooth. Sabretooth was on the ground in pain. Before he could react, that terrifying man appeared in front of him again. This made Sabretooth's scalp go numb, and his heart was filled with fear. He had never been so afraid before. That was the fear of absolute strength. Sabretooth really could not understand. Why would such a terrifying monster appear here? Moreover, he had lived for so many years. Why had he never heard of such a terrifying monster? He knew that there were monsters like the Hulk and Thor in this world, so he never provoked them. He knew that he was no match for them. Where did this perverted guy come from? Why didn't such a perverted guy reveal himself normally? At this moment, Sabretooth regretted his harsh tone. Li Shu raised his leg. His powerful fighting technique was activated again. His leg drew a mysterious arc in the air, and his power increased. The air exploded. It was like a whip of steel striking down. It landed on Sabretooth's abdomen. Boom! A terrifying power erupted. The ground beneath Sabretooth cracked and collapsed, forming a huge crater. He spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, Sabretooth felt as if its internal organs had been shattered. A terrifying pain rushed towards him. He rolled his eyes. He almost fainted on the spot. It was only 2 hits. Sabretooth was covered in blood and looked even worse than Logan. Li Shu lifted Sabretooth up. You guys were fighting just now. You disturbed me from drinking and relaxing. You even made me spend time to deal with you. Double the loss. You have to pay me back double. How much money do you have on you? Sabretooth's voice was weak and his words were a little vague. I still have more than $200 on me. You still have more than $200,000. Li Shu raised his eyebrows slightly. Was this guy so poor? He had been around for so many years after all. Seeing Li Shu raise his eyebrows, Sabretooth said, I really only have this much money. Because I usually use the money to drink and find women, I didn't save much money. Li Shu let out a breath. With such little savings, you're really a piece of trash. As he spoke, he punched Sabretooth's face again. Sabretooth cried out in pain. Li Shu continued, let's go. Get ready to withdraw the money for me. After that, he walked back. Only then did he start to look at the dropped items. Ding! Sabretooth dropped. Sabretooth's physique, bronze elementary level. Do you want to withdraw? Ding! Wolverine dropped. Wolverine self-healing factors self-healing characteristic, silver elementary level. Do you want to withdraw? Sabretooth's physique attributes are as follows. Strength, 6. Physique, 6. Wolverine self-healing factors self-healing characteristic, has a strong healing ability, almost equivalent to immortality, unless the body is completely destroyed. Note: Wolverine's self-healing factor has 3 characteristics. The first is a strong self-healing ability, the second is the ability to delay aging and prolong life, and the third is the ability to resist to a certain extent. Seeing the dropped items, Li Shu revealed a satisfied smile. In the end, the item he wanted dropped. That was Wolverine's self-healing factor. Unless the body was completely destroyed, he could be reborn. Looking at the introduction of the self-healing factor, Li Shu still felt a little regretful. After all, the self-healing factor had 3 characteristics. 2 of the most famous characteristics were self-healing and longevity. The other was a relatively unpopular characteristic, which was the ability to resist to the mind. In the original story, White Queen had once tried to invade Wolverine's brain, but the result was a failure. It was because Wolverine's self-healing factor had the ability to resist a certain degree of mind attacks. However, this time, the longevity characteristic did not drop, and the other ability to resist to the mind did not drop either. Definitely. The characteristic that he wanted the most had dropped. Li Shu was overall very satisfied. Other than that, it also dropped Sabretooth's physique, which was equivalent to dropping a total of 19 attribute points. That was not bad. It was a pleasant surprise. At the same time, through Sabretooth's attributes, he could also understand why Li Shu could easily suppress the other party. The difference in strength was too great. At this moment, Li Shu realized that Sabretooth's injuries seemed to have healed more than half. He waved his fist again, causing the other party to be seriously injured again. Li Shu nodded in satisfaction. It's still more pleasing to the eye. Sabretooth. Li Shu said in his heart, pick it up. Ding. Picked up, Sabretooth's physique, triggered 3 times critical hit. Obtained, Sabretooth's strengthening physique. Quote. Ding. Picked up, Wolverine self-healing factors self-healing characteristic, triggered 20 times critical hit. Obtained. Ding. Picked up, Wolverine self-healing factors self-healing characteristic, triggering 20 times critical hit. Obtained, self-healing factors strengthened self-healing and mental resistance dual characteristics. Quote. Strengthening self-healing and mental resistance dual characteristics. The strengthened Wolverine self-healing factors dual characteristics, the self-healing and mental resistance dual characteristics are more powerful. Seeing the result of the critical hit triggered by the self-healing factor, his eyes lit up. Good lord. It actually triggered the mental resistance dual characteristics. This time, he also had a defensive ability in the mental aspect. It could be considered as making up for one of his shortcomings. In addition, whether it was the self-healing ability or the mental resistance dual characteristics, they had also been strengthened and became more powerful. In other words, the self-healing ability had become stronger. At the same time, the mental defense ability had also become stronger. Not bad, not bad. Li Shu was still a little greedy. It's a pity that I didn't trigger the longevity ability. Otherwise, it would be even more comfortable. Even so, Li Shu was still overjoyed. Other than that, Sabretooth's physique had also received 3 times the critical hit. This meant that he could obtain a total of 36 attribute points this time. It was much better than the white attribute points that had been dropped previously. This time, his physical strength would become even stronger. Sabretooth's strengthened physique. Strength. 18. Physique. 18. The next moment, a powerful and gentle force surged into Li Shu's body. It began to strengthen the cells in Li Shu's body. In the blink of an eye, every cell became harder and harder, and at the same time, contained more explosive power. Li Shu felt as if he could crush steel with one pinch. His attribute board also changed again. Host. Li Shu. Strength. 72 plus 18. Physique. 46 plus 18. Agility. 36. His strength directly reached more than 70 points. His physique had reached nearly 50 points. It had already far surpassed ordinary ability users. At the same time, a cool force flowed into his limbs and bones. It made him feel very comfortable. He could feel that the activity of every cell in his body was rising. He understood that this was under the effect of the self-healing factor. The self-healing ability had been greatly improved. At the same time, he also felt a cool feeling in his brain. An invisible mental defense membrane had formed. He felt the changes in his body. Li Shu was very satisfied. He had gained a lot from watching the battle. After picking up the items, Li Shu took the Sabretooth and went to withdraw the money. In the meantime, he turned on his phone and sent a message to his assistant. Follow me and follow Logan's trail. The assistant looked at the unconscious Logan through the camera and was a little confused. Could it be that the unconscious Logan could still move? Although she had some doubts in her heart, the little assistant still did as she was told. She would do whatever her boss asked her to do. She immediately replied, okay, leave it to me. At the entrance of the bar. Not long after, a few vans arrived at this place. A group of people came down with a stretcher and carried the unconscious Wolverine into the car. Where's Sabretooth? He knocked Logan unconscious and then ran away. Isn't he afraid that Logan will wake up? Quote. This guy is really derelict in his duty. I can't even get through to his phone. He probably drank and went to find a woman. This guy shouldn't be so daring as to run away halfway through the quest. One of them looked at the scene and saw that there was no trace of Sabretooth, so he walked towards the small bar. His expression was cold. Hey, do you see this guy? Do you know where he went? Quote. As he spoke, he took out his phone and showed a picture of Sabretooth. The bar owner saw that the other party was not to be trifled with and did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly walked forward to take a closer look. The man grabbed the bar owner's collar and dragged him in front of the phone. He pressed down on the bar owner's head and said coldly, "Look carefully. If you don't look carefully, I'll break your legs." Hearing the man's words, the bar owner trembled. He looked at the picture and recognized Sabretooth, so he honestly told the man what had just happened. After hearing the bar owner's description, the man took in a cold breath. You're sure that the other party easily injured Sabretooth? He pressed the bar owner's head in front of the phone again. You're sure that this person was seriously injured? The bar owner hurriedly nodded. Yes, I'm definitely not wrong. Quote. To be honest, I thought that person was just a passerby. I didn't expect him to be the scariest guy at the scene. Just because Sabretooth called him trash, he crippled Sabretooth in a few moves. The man cursed softly, that idiot, why did he provoke others? He doesn't know how to keep a low profile when he does things. He deserves it. Quote. When the bar owner heard that, the corners of his mouth twitched. He could not help but think, Sabretooth is indeed high profile, but you don't seem to be keeping a low profile. The man patted the bar owner's head. By the way, do you know what that person looks like? The bar owner shook his head. That person was either in the dark or had his back facing me. I didn't see his face at all. The man said fiercely, are you sure? If you dare lie to me, you're dead meat. Quote. The bar owner was about to cry. How would I dare lie to you? I really didn't see that person's face at all. Quote. Then. The man went to check the surveillance footage again. Indeed, as the bar owner had said, he could not see that person's face clearly. Who is this guy? A shout came from the convoy. Let's go. It's time to go back. Otherwise, this guy will wake up. At that time, who knows what kind of accident will happen. Quote. Hearing this, he quickly replied, I'm coming. Then, he walked towards the convoy. Halfway there, he shouted to his colleagues, I need to pee. I'm going to the woods to pee. The other party replied angrily, fool. Then, the man went into the woods. He pulled open his pants and prepared to pee. At this moment, a drunkard suddenly appeared out of nowhere and stared at him in consternation. He glared angrily. You stink. Stinky drunkard, get lost. You're disturbing your father's pee. Quote. The drunkard tilted his head and looked at him. He took out a rifle and aimed it at the man. His finger pulled the trigger. That person. Bring a gun in the middle of the night. Are you crazy? Bang. There was a loud gunshot. It sent a large number of sleeping birds flying. Under the powerful force of the rifle, that person was directly sent flying and hit the tree trunk. Intense pain filled his entire body. Blood flowed out of his mouth and could not be stopped at all. The drunkard took half a step forward again. He pointed the muzzle at that person's head. That person's eyes were filled with fear. He opened his mouth and said, I was wrong. Before he could finish his words. Bang! His head exploded like a watermelon. After doing all this, the drunkard burped and left the place in a daze. Outside the forest, someone shouted, DMN it. There's a gunshot. Let's go and see what happened inside. Quote. Soon, a few people rushed into the forest with guns. They saw that person's corpse. One of them shouted outside, he was shot to death by someone. I don't know who the murderer is. Quote. The person outside glanced at his watch and gritted his teeth. There's not enough time. Let's go. We'll go back now. Otherwise, there will be trouble. Quote. Our main task is to send him back. If we can't, we won't go back. We'll go down and accompany him. A few people immediately left. They drove away from the place. After a while, the bar owner walked into the forest cautiously. He saw that person's corpse. The bar owner thought of what the other party had said before. If you don't keep a low profile, you deserve to die. As a person, it's better to keep a low profile. Subsequently, the bar owner shook his head and sighed. He left the place. In the distance, Daisy saw a car take Logan away. She nodded slightly. The bar owner is really smart. He must have guessed that someone would come to take Logan away. Suddenly, his admiration for Li Shu increased by another point. On the other side, Li Shu carried Sabretooth and went to take out the 210,000 yuan from the other party's card. After doing all this, he threw the Sabretooth on the ground and left. That night, Li Shu left an indelible shadow on Sabretooth. It became an eternal nightmare in Sabretooth's heart. After getting the money, Li Shu immediately asked for Wolverine's location. This was because he knew that Wolverine would be experimented on and injected with adamantium to become a real Wolverine. After Wolverine recovered, he would fight with the people from the research institute and then escape. Therefore, Li Shu wanted to see if this battle would drop anything. Very soon, the assistant sent Wolverine's location to him. It was indeed a secret research facility. After getting the address, Li Shu hurried there. Then, he witnessed Wolverine revive and extend its brand new steel claws. An intense battle ensued. However, it was basically a one-sided victory for Wolverine. After all, adamantium's claws were too powerful. Very soon, Wolverine broke through the firepower of the research institute and escaped. The duration of the battle was extremely short. It was over in the blink of an eye as soon as it started. Perhaps the loot from Li Shu had used up all his luck for the day. In this battle, it did not drop a single light orb. Even if it was a whiteboard level. Li Shu lay on the ceiling and sighed. What bad luck. However, Li Shu did not leave directly. Instead, he focused his attention on a container below. In that container, there was a piece of metal the size of a fist. It was the remaining adamantium after injecting Wolverine. Although it was only the size of a fist, it was worth a lot of gold. After all, it was one of the hardest substances in the universe. Li Shu licked his lips. Since I'm here, I can't go back empty-handed. After all, a visitor is a guest. So, I'll accept these adamantium. Li Shu redefined what a visitor is a guest meant. He took out a smiley face mask from the backpack that contained the money and put it on. Then, he jumped down and landed on the ground. They saw Li Shu who had suddenly appeared. The guards who had just gotten out of combat hurriedly cried out, "Who is this guy?" Before they could raise the guns in their hands. Whoosh! Beams of cobwebs shot out. They stuck everyone's guns and hands to the ground, causing them to instantly lose their ability to fight. Li Shu swaggered over to the container. There was an extremely exquisite password lock on the container. The staff member at the side quickly said, "We don't know the password on this. It's all personally opened by the higher-ups. There are more than 1 billion possibilities." Quote. And this container is made of super hard bulletproof glass. Even a rifle can't destroy it. You can't get the things inside out. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, more guards and soldiers will come later. You won't be able to leave. Li Shu looked at the fingerprint lock seriously. There are 1.3 billion possible passwords. Even if I try for a lifetime, I won't be able to solve it. He sighed. This password is too difficult. I really can't solve it. He had only obtained Iron Man's mechanical mecha manufacturing technology and biological knowledge. He did not include computer programs and cryptography. When the people around heard this, they all heaved a sigh of relief. The little assistant was about to say, "Let's go." Bang! Li Shu broke the container with a punch and took out the lump of adamantium. He shook his head. In the end, I still used brute force. I can't even rely on my intelligence to survive. Everyone around was dumbfounded. Quote. What kind of monster was this? The super-tempered glass that couldn't be broken by a rifle was broken by this guy with his bare hands. Even Wolverine and Sabretooth couldn't break this thing with their bare hands. Moreover, with this kind of strength, why would he need intelligence? The little assistant's mouth twitched. This boss of hers was really not serious at all. Li Shu looked at the people around him and smiled. This thing is fated with me. I'll take it with me. The people around looked at the smiling face on the mask and felt that it was abnormally terrifying and strange. Coupled with the other party's strange brain circuit, everyone felt a chill down their spines. Where the hell did this monster come from? You want to run after taking my things? Can you run away? Quote. All the speakers around them roared angrily. Creak. Creak. On the surrounding walls, holes opened one by one, and machine guns were exposed. They were aimed at Li Shu, at that strange smiling face. The deep, Dark muzzles revealed a dangerous aura. He saw the machine guns all around him. The smiling face let out a chuckle under the mask. You guys are quite hospitable in your hospitality. If that's the case, I've decided. I'll accept your hospitality. There was a pause. The strange smiling face said, I'm going to turn this place upside down. After that, the veins on his body bulged slightly, and his eyes were slightly red. The voice in the microphone seemed to have been provoked. He roared angrily, fire. One machine gun after another began to rotate. Da da da. A large number of bullets poured toward Li Shu like a storm. However, Li Shu was faster. He moved before the machine gun was aimed. Like a bolt of lightning, he jumped up and ran on the wall, rushing toward the machine guns. He used the adamantium in his hand as a weapon and blasted at the machine guns. Bang bang bang. Before the machine guns could hit Li Shu, the machine guns were blown up by Li Shu. Li Shu was like a black shadow, shuttling back and forth on the wall. One machine gun after another turned into scrap metal. When the people who were hiding saw this scene, they were all shocked and overwhelmed with shock. The masked man was too fast. He was so fast that they couldn't see him clearly. They could only see afterimages. A moment later, all the machine guns at the scene had been blown up. Whoosh! The masked man landed safely on the ground. The smile on the mask was exceptionally terrifying and strange in the eyes of everyone. At this moment, the armed guards outside finally arrived and witnessed the last scene. They looked at the destroyed machine guns in the hall and swallowed their saliva in unison. The sound of their saliva mixed together sounded a little loud. Every guard looked at the smiling masked man on the ground again, and a trace of fear flashed across their eyes. In the entire hall, there was only one enemy. Moreover, they also saw the last scene of this guy running on the wall and destroying the last few machine guns. If they guessed correctly, this guy had blown up all the heavy machine guns by himself. Was he still human? Could an ordinary person even do something like that? All of the guards fell into a daze. An angry roar came from the loudspeaker. Aim at him. The guards were all shocked. They quickly raised the guns in their hands and aimed at Li Shu. Li Shu scanned the crowd. Immediately, the guards' hearts trembled and they immediately put down their guns obediently. After all, was this something they could do with guns? With so many heavy machine guns scrapped, what use would the rifles in their hands have? There's no need to work so hard for a few thousand USD. An angry roar came from the horn. What are you doing? Aim at him. Aim. Quote. In the end, that person was the only one shouting at the top of his lungs. The others didn't move at all. In the distance, when the little assistant saw this scene, he laughed and shook his big breasts. I'm dying of laughter. No one is listening at all. Li Shu looked at the researchers who were hiding under the table. Where is the material storage? Take me there. Quote. The researchers didn't dare to be negligent. He quickly led Li Shu to the material warehouse. Moreover, the researcher was not too flustered, because in his opinion, how many packets of materials could Li Shu hold? They could still afford a few packets of materials. In the end, they still used brute force to destroy the door of the material warehouse. Li Shu walked in. He began to look for the materials he needed. Making steel battle suits and small arc reactors required very expensive materials. After all, making steel battle suits required extremely high-quality superalloys, superfibers, and so on. The reactors required palladium, which was about the same price as gold. He didn't have enough money at the moment. Li Shu was already having a headache. After entering the material warehouse of this research institute, he immediately relaxed. Very soon, he carried a bag of expensive materials the size of a small mountain and left the research institute. When the people in the research institute saw this scene, they were all stunned. Their eyeballs were about to fall out. This scene was too impactful. The researcher looked at the expensive materials area that was almost hollowed out with a dull expression. All of it. In the future, how will we do research? The researcher pulled his hair in disbelief. Why would a boorish man take away so many scientific materials? This day was destined to be a gloomy day for some people. Under the pitch-black night sky, a figure with a small mountain on his head was scurrying around on the roof. Occasionally, someone saw it and thought that their eyes were playing tricks on them. When they looked again, the figure was gone. They thought that they had seen wrongly. There were also many people who thought that it was haunted. It scared many people who got up at night. The back door of Li Shu's shop was a dead end in the depths of the alley. There was a creak. The big-breasted girl opened the door and walked out. The next moment, a figure landed on the ground. A huge amount of black shadows instantly enveloped the big-breasted girl. Looking at the load on the other party's body, the big-breasted girl swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The corner of her mouth twitched. "Boss, you packed too many things." Looking at the huge package that was like a small mountain, the girl's heart trembled. Li Shu, who was wearing a mask, smiled and said, "It's a gift from someone else. It's a waste not to take it." The girl gave a thumbs up. "Boss, you redefined the word, gift. I've decided that you'll have to make the dictionary in the future." Li Shu rolled his eyes. "Stop talking nonsense. Open the basement door for me." The girl took out her phone and fiddled with it. Suddenly, the ground beside her began to expand, revealing a rather large entrance. This was originally an underground parking lot. Now, it was also rented by Li Shu. A few days ago, although he didn't gain anything, Li Shu still did some things. For example, he rented the underground parking lot and transformed it into his own underground base. Then, he added some manufacturing equipment to make weapons. It was originally prepared for the creation of mechas. Li Shu immediately raised the things and walked into the underground base. The little assistant also followed in eagerly. Then, he closed the door. Li Shu placed the materials on the ground. There was a loud bang. If it wasn't for the soundproofing measures, it might have attracted complaints from the neighbors. Looking at the pile of materials in front of him, Li Shu understood that during this period of time, other than watching the battle, he would be making portable steel battle suits. The little assistant glanced at the small mountain of materials and asked in confusion, "What are you going to make with this?" The corners of Li Shu's mouth curled up slightly. "Become my personal secretary tonight, and I'll tell you the trade secrets." The little assistant blushed and spat. "In your dreams. I don't want to know." Quote. After saying that, she jogged away. But soon, she came back. Li Shu smiled and said, "Have you thought it through?" The little assistant was stunned for a moment. Her face was red as she glared at Li Shu angrily. "Hooligan." She immediately rolled her eyes. "There's work again." Li Shu was stunned. So fast. He immediately asked, "So, who is it this time?" The little assistant said, "It's." He then asked, "So, who is it this time?" The assistant said, "Daredevil again." Li Shu asked, "What about the opponent?" "Bullseye." Hearing the name, Li Shu's eyes lit up. Bullseye. A top assassin. The most important thing wasn't his identity as a top assassin. It was the ability he had. The terrifying throwing ability he was born with. He could throw any object in his hand at the target with incredible precision. He could unleash terrifying potential with the body of a mortal. When he was young, because of his throwing ability, someone suggested that Bullseye try to become a Major League Baseball player. So, Bullseye went. After only 3 games, he felt bored and annoyed when he was throwing. Plus, he was born with a demonic personality and was cruel and violent. So, in the next game, he unleashed his throwing ability and raised the power of the baseball to an astonishing level. He threw the ball with all his strength and killed the opposing catcher. Then, he went to jail for the first time. Killing someone with a baseball was simply horrifying. But that wasn't all of his achievements. He also had some outstanding and shocking achievements. Using poker cards to tear people's throats. Spitting out teeth that pierced through the enemy's skull. Using a toothpick to pierce through a window 91 meters away and kill a person. Different things could be turned into something magical in his hands and unleash fatal danger. It was terrifying. Throwing was death. Li Shu recalled the information about Bullseye, and his eyes flashed. He didn't know. Would Bullseye's ability drop this time? Li Shu walked upstairs. When he passed by the assistant, he said, "Send me the address." As he spoke, he stretched out his salty pig's trotter. Pa! There was a crisp sound. Waves rolled. After that, he quickly went upstairs and disappeared. The big-breasted girl's face was red as she gritted her teeth. "I've saved enough money. I'll definitely run. Escape from this devil's den." Quote. After saying that, she immediately went into assistant mode. She quickly sent the address to her boss. At this moment, The assistant's stomach growled. She patted her flat stomach and mumbled, "You're really good at digesting food. Are you hungry again? I work hard every day to feed you. It's really not easy." Quote. I really want to eat delicious food. Definitely ideographic period. This was just a thought in the assistant's mind. After all, it was already so late. She didn't dare to stay out. After all, the night in New York was too dark. Moreover, she was just a weak girl who didn't have the ability to truss a chicken. The assistant curled her lips. I can only eat some biscuits to fill my stomach. After that, she went upstairs and grabbed some biscuits from the shelf. Their home was a small convenience store, and that was the only advantage. They would never lack food. After taking the biscuits, she hurriedly went upstairs and continued to work on the computer. At night, Li Shu rippled rapidly in the air. The wind howled in his ears. His eyes flashed with anticipation. Hopefully, he would be able to get something good this time. But today was indeed a little busy. There were 2 transcendent battles. Could it be that because he hadn't been here for the past few days, his luck had exploded tonight? If that was the case, he hoped that this luck would continue. At least until the end of this battle. Whoosh! Li Shu sped up. He sped towards his destination even faster. Next to a swimming pool outside a villa. A lively party was being held. The people who came were all rich and powerful. In order to protect the privacy of these people, there were no cameras here. In the villa, a waiter was holding a tray with a toothpick in his mouth. His eyes darted around the room. Soon, his eyes locked on a middle-aged man in a suit by the swimming pool outside the window. Seeing the man, the waiter's eyes flashed. The target had appeared. He was ready to kill. Just as he was reaching for the toothpick. What are you doing? A stern reprimand rang in the waiter's ears. The waiter turned his head and saw a man glaring at him. You're just a waiter. Why don't you care about your image? You're even carelessly holding a toothpick in your mouth. What are you doing? Do you know that the VIPs here are all people of status? You're so careless. Where's the face of the host? Quote. The man yelled angrily. His nostrils seemed to be on fire. As he spoke, the man pulled out the toothpick from the waiter's mouth and threw it into the trash can. Get back to work. The man glared at the waiter and then turned to leave. The waiter's expression was dull. He looked at the toothpick in the trash can and then at the man's back. His eyes were full of confusion. Everything happened too fast and too suddenly. The waiter was caught off guard. At this moment, 10,000 alpacas galloped in his heart. Shish asterisk T. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on him. He knew that now was not the time to make a move. After all, he had attracted the attention of so many people. He was going to look for another opportunity to make a move. At the same time, he clenched the tray tightly. He was annoyed and looked at the figure. You're courting death. Don't let me see you again. Quote. Immediately. The waiter returned to the kitchen after serving the dishes. He immediately took off his clothes and left the place. After taking off his service hat, a target pattern was revealed on his forehead. This person was Bullseye, who had a strong throwing ability. After leaving the villa, he was going to find a slightly higher place to kill the man. Not long after Bullseye left, Li Shu came to this place. Because of the accident, Bullseye left the party early and brushed past Li Shu. Using the fake identity given by the assistant, he successfully sneaked into the queue. He began to look for Bullseye. In the end, it didn't matter. Li Shu frowned and whispered, I didn't see Bullseye. The assistant quickly said, could it be hidden in one of the rooms? That's impossible, Li Shu said firmly. Li Shu used his super perception ability to scan the entire villa area. He even checked the underground. There was no trace of Bullseye at all. Could it be that he has already completed the mission? According to my investigation, Bullseye snuck into the party and killed a counselor. Quote. Li Shu, no, there is no sign of a murder at the scene. If he knew Bullseye's scent, he could use his monster sense of smell to chase after Bullseye. However, he had never seen Bullseye, so he had no idea what Bullseye's scent was. It was Li Shu's first time out and he couldn't find his target. This gave him a slight headache. Immediately, Li Shu muttered to himself, thinking of a countermeasure. The assistant scratched her head and said in distress, then what exactly happened? Why is this guy gone? The target hasn't been killed yet. Quote. Li Shu narrowed his eyes. Something might have happened that caused Bullseye to leave early. If a hitman leaves early, it's very likely that there's no chance for him to commit a crime here. The assistant frowned. Then what do we do? There are no cameras in this party. I'm completely in the dark. She continued, the cameras nearby didn't capture him either. It seems that he intentionally avoided the cameras. She rubbed her stiff little face. The surrounding area is so wide. We don't know where he will attack from. Looking for him is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Li Shu said, what exactly made him leave? I'll see if I can find a way out of this. Then, he stopped a passerby and asked with a smile, bro, did something happen here just now? The passerby was a friendly person. What do you mean? Are you saying that someone was eavesdropping at the door and accidentally barged in? Quote. Li Shu sweated. It was true that parties in the beautiful country were all about romance. But that wasn't what he wanted to hear. He shook his head with a smile. No, I'm talking about what happened in a public place. The passerby thought for a moment. Are you talking about a waiter who had a toothpick in his mouth, which was then pulled off by a guest and reprimanded in public? A waiter with a toothpick in his mouth. Li Shu narrowed his eyes slightly. He subconsciously thought of Bullseye, who killed people with toothpicks. Being reprimanded in public meant that most people would pay attention to him. Hitmen had to keep a low profile. Too much attention wasn't suitable for an assassination, which meant that he would lose the opportunity to commit a crime. Connecting the two, Li Shu felt that it was very likely that the waiter was Bullseye. If his guess was correct, the waiter shouldn't be here anymore. After all, if he was noticed by most people, the hitman's low profile would be gone, and he would be easily spotted if he took action again. So, leaving the party was the most important choice. So, he asked, where's the waiter? Is he still here? Quote. The passerby looked around and said in confusion, right, I haven't seen him for a while. Shouldn't this guy be at the party all the time, listening to people's greetings? Could it be that he couldn't stand being reprimanded and ran away? Quote. Li Shu continued, by the way, where was the waiter reprimanded? The passerby pointed out the location. Li Shu immediately walked over to him. He glanced around. There was only one trash can. He walked over. The toothpick on it was very conspicuous. He activated his monster sense of smell. The rough process on the toothpick appeared in his mind. It was a toothpick from the kitchen. Someone had picked it up and kept it in their mouth. In the end, Ling Ren took it away and threw it into the trash can. Therefore, there were two human scents on this toothpick. One of them had a very unfamiliar scent. He had never smelled it before. The scent of the other person made Li Shu slightly stunned. Because the other party could be considered an acquaintance of his. Daredevil. Shortly after, Li Shu smirked. He finally understood the reason behind this. Daredevil must have used a trick to expose Bullseye to the public in order to stop him from killing people. In that case, then, the other party would temporarily lose the opportunity to make a move. This would save the person who was about to die. The other unfamiliar aura was naturally Bullseye. He activated his monster sense of smell. Bullseye's scent drifted in the air like a ribbon, stretching out all the way. The other scent on the toothpick also stretched out in the same direction. At this point, Li Shu was 100% sure that these two people were Bullseye and Daredevil. Li Shu chuckled. Found this guy? Darcy quickly asked, where is he? Is he at the scene? Or did you see him? Quote. Li Shu said, not at the scene. I haven't seen him yet, but I'll see him soon. After that, Li Shu left the villa following Bullseye's scent and chased after him at lightning speed. After all, he didn't want to miss the battle between Bullseye and Daredevil. Not far from the villa. It was a small amusement park. Bullseye, wearing a baseball cap, walked through it. While experiencing a baseball arcade game, Bullseye stopped. Come out. You've been following me for a while. Then, not far behind him, Daredevil, in a battle suit, walked out from behind a tent. Bullseye looked at him and curled his lips. So, it's the famous Daredevil. What brings you here? This was the first time the two of them had officially met. Daredevil said coldly, I'm here to send you to prison. Bullseye turned around and revealed a bullseye mask, revealing a mocking look in his eyes. Do you think you're worthy? Daredevil clenched his fists. You can try. Not far away. A handsome young man squeezed into the crowd and looked at Daredevil and Bullseye in front of him. He smiled. Good thing I made it in time. These two guys are really good at causing trouble. It took me a while to find them. Quote. Li Shu was very happy to see that he hadn't missed the battle. Clenching his fists, Daredevil was about to rush up and take down Bullseye. But at this moment, Bullseye moved faster. Daredevil had just started running. He had already grabbed the baseball from the side. This is the weapon that made me famous. Enjoy it. Then, he threw the baseball in his hand. Bang! There was an explosion in the air. The baseball shot out like a terrifying bullet with unparalleled power. Seeing this scene, the people around all gasped and felt their scalps go numb. The power of this baseball was really terrifying. Bang! It smashed into Daredevil's body. Crack! The sound of bones cracking could be heard. The sharp pain made Daredevil scream. Bang! 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 Bullseye threw the baseball out one after another. It was like a cannonball bombarding Daredevil's body. Daredevil screamed on the ground, and a lot of blood seeped out of his body. Suddenly, 3 balls of light fell from Bullseye's body. Li Shu's eyes widened and his mouth was slightly open. Shish asterisk T, 3 items dropped. And it's only been a short while. Isn't it dropping too fast this time? Single quote. Li Shu hurriedly checked the dropped items. Ding. Bullseye has dropped Bullseye's sense black iron, elementary. Do you want to withdraw it? Ding. Bullseye has dropped mental strength 1 white slate. Do you want to withdraw it? Ding. Bullseye has dropped assassin master black iron, high. Do you want to withdraw it? Bullseye's sense. You can sense Daredevil's presence in your mind for a short period of time. Li Shu's mouth twitched when he saw the ability. He was lost for words. Sensing Daredevil's presence with his mind. It was completely useless to him. He wasn't interested in sensing Daredevil's presence at all. Daredevil was indeed Bullseye's nemesis. Bullseye had even created a skill specifically aimed at Daredevil. Li Shu's eyes glittered when he saw the second item. He had never dropped mental strength before. Although he had dropped mental strength skills before, they were just skills that used mental strength and didn't improve it at all. It was very difficult to improve mental strength unless he sharpened his willpower or used a special meditation technique. With more mental strength, he would be able to use mental strength and mental strength skills more effectively. Assassin Master. You know every pressure point and weakness on the human body. You can turn almost any object into a deadly weapon. You can incapacitate or kill your enemy. This skill was quite good. If he knew the enemy's weakness, he would be able to deal a critical hit, which would make it easier for him to kill the enemy in one hit. However, Li Shu didn't see the throwing ability that he wanted. Because the location was within 50 meters, Li Shu directly said in his mind, extract. Ding. Extracting Bullseye's sense, a critical hit of 30 times is triggered. Obtaining sense bronze, medium. Quote. Ding. Extracting mental strength 1, a critical hit of 5 times is triggered. Obtaining mental strength 5. Quote. Ding. Extracting assassin master, a critical hit of 100 times is triggered. Obtaining assassin grandmaster, stealth, silver, elementary. Quote. Sense. Your mind can remember someone and sense their presence within a range of 1000 meters. Li Shu saw the skill after the critical hit. Li Shu's eyes glittered. Without the limitation of humans, he would be able to sense other people as long as he remembered them. He wouldn't be limited to Daredevil anymore. It would be great for finding people. Other than that, during battle, this skill could also lock onto the enemy's position. As long as the enemy was within a range of 1000 meters, no matter where they hit or how they moved, he would be able to sense them. Assassin Grandmaster, Stealth. Not only do you know every pressure point and weakness of the human body, you also know how to attack the weak points. You have also learned Stealth. Stealth, restrain your aura, sound, and even your heartbeat. Increase speed by 70%. Duration, 20 minutes. Cooldown, 2 hours. This allows you to move as quickly as a ghost, making it difficult for others to detect you. Look at this. Li Shu was overjoyed. What a guy. It actually triggered a critical hit of 100 times. It was a silver skill. Stealth. Restrain your aura and sound, and increase your speed by 70%. His speed had nearly doubled. Furthermore, he would restrain his aura and voice to the extreme. This way, it would be difficult for others to detect his assassination. The success rate of the assassination was greatly increased. Even if Zhang Zan didn't go for assassinations, a 70% increase in speed was already a formidable feat in normal combat. As expected of a Grandmaster assassin, he was truly amazing. Following the extraction, Li Shu had mastered these two skills. In the meantime, a strange force surged into his mind, causing his mental strength to rise steadily until it finally stopped at a certain height. Finally, his mental strength attribute had undergone a brand new change. Host: Li Shu. Strength: 72. Physique: 46. Agility: 36. Mental strength: 6+5. Compared to other attributes, his mental strength attribute was still very low, but it was already far beyond that of ordinary people. Li Shu looked at his mental strength attribute and muttered in his heart. If I want to improve my mental strength attribute, I probably need to watch more magician battles. After all, magicians rely on mental strength to survive. They are more likely to drop mental strength attributes. After picking up the items, Li Shu's attention quickly returned to the scene. When the people around saw Daredevil bleeding, they all screamed and hurriedly ran in all directions, trying to get as far away from the scene as possible. Someone's injured. Oh my god. Who's that guy? Why is the baseball he threw so terrifying? It's like a cannonball. Quote. Yeah, who's this guy? He's so scary. Quote. Hurry up and call the police. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the person on the ground will die under the baseball. Quote. The scene was a little chaotic. But some people simply stood still in the chaos. They were those who were enjoying the show, as well as Li Shu, who was in the middle of the fun. Bullseye, with his handy weapon in hand, was practically a killing machine. With the advantage of distance, he completely crushed Daredevil. Li Shu clicked his tongue as he watched. Bullseye was just an ordinary person at this moment. His bones hadn't even been injected with adamantium yet, but the power of his throw was far beyond that of ordinary people. His throwing ability was indeed too strong. Because there were no cameras nearby, Bullseye's assistant couldn't see what was going on the front line and was playing a game in boredom. Looking at Daredevil who was bleeding all over, Li Shu's eyes twitched. If this continued, Daredevil would be bedridden for at least half a year, or be disabled or even killed. Li Shu couldn't let Daredevil die. After all, as a superhero, Daredevil would definitely fight a lot of battles later. However, Li Shu didn't take action immediately, because he wanted to see if he could get more throwing abilities. Li Shu sensed Daredevil's status and found that he could still hold on for a while. Also, Daredevil could speed up his recovery through meditation, so it wouldn't matter if he vomited a few liters of blood. He would be alive and kicking again in a few days. Li Shu murmured to himself, try to hold on a little longer. Maybe the item will fall out. Up ahead, Daredevil was screaming. The people around couldn't bear to see him like this. Even Li Shu's assistant, who couldn't see the scene, panicked and put down the game. Boss, he's screaming so miserably. Do you want to save him? It's fine. He won't die yet. He can take a few more hits and vomit more blood. Li Shu stared at Bullseye without blinking. Li Shu's assistant was speechless. The corner of her mouth twitched, and she silently gave him a thumbs up. She had to depend on her boss. Li Shu sensed Daredevil's status and was ready to take action at any time, while he kept an eye on Bullseye's drop. Soon, Daredevil's voice became a little weaker. Daredevil's status began a countdown. The item still didn't fall out. Li Shu sighed inwardly. It seemed that the triple explosion had used up all his luck. Looks like there won't be any drops today. Just as he was about to save Daredevil, another ball of light fell out of Bullseye's body. Li Shu's eyes lit up. A mechanical sound rang in his ears. Ding! Bullseye dropped. Ding! Bullseye dropped. Sharpshooter, black iron, high level. Do you want to withdraw? Li Shu was still waiting for his reaction. Daredevil also dropped 2 light balls. Quote? Quote. 2 more. Tonight's drop rate was something. With this drop rate, he could accept it even if there was no throwing ability. Ding! Daredevil dropped. Meditation, accelerated healing, black iron, medium level. Do you want to withdraw? Ding! Daredevil dropped. Physique 2. Do you want to withdraw? In the end, the throwing ability that Li Shu wanted did not drop. However, he was already satisfied. After all, in this battle, he had dropped it 6 times. He had broken his record for the highest single drop in history. Moreover, he had even gotten a silver level sneak. His luck was already off the charts. Li Shu touched his nose. It's okay, I'll wait for the next drop. Anyway, these two guys will keep fighting as long as they don't die. Withdraw, he said in his heart. Ding. Picked up, sharpshooter. Triggered 10 times critical hit. Obtained, sharpshooter, correction, bronze, medium level. Ding. Picked up, physique 2, triggered 3 times critical hit. Obtained, physique 6 inches. Ding. Picked up, meditation, accelerated healing, triggered 5 times critical hit. Obtained, meditation, intermediate accelerated healing, bronze, elementary level. A force flowed into Li Shu's body. It made his body even stronger. In addition, a set of methods to accelerate healing also entered Li Shu's mind. Meditation, intermediate accelerated healing. Through meditation, focus on the wound, stimulate cell activity, and accelerate healing. Intermediate accelerated healing is the advanced version of the normal accelerated healing, the healing speed will be faster. Li Shu was slightly happy. The self-healing ability of the self-healing factor. With this, my self-healing ability will become even stronger. At the same time, he also mastered the ability, sharpshooter, correction. Sharpshooter. You have almost perfect accuracy. As long as you aim at the target, you will hit almost 100% of the time. Sharpshooter, correction. Not only do you have almost perfect accuracy. In addition, even if the target moves, your shot will automatically correct its trajectory to a certain extent and rush to the target. Seeing this ability, Li Shu sucked in a breath of cold air. What a guy. The projectile also had a certain degree of modification function. Wasn't this a weakened version of the homing projectile? This was indeed an upgrade from a normal skill to a transcendent skill. If this skill was upgraded further, it would become a true homing projectile. The 3 items dropped this time were pretty good. He sensed Daredevil's condition. He knew that it was time for him to make a move. Li Shu took a step back. When no one was looking, he took out a soft plastic smiley face mask and put it on. He casually picked up a small stone and said, "Let's test my fate." When he held the small stone in his hand, he immediately felt a sense of aiming. As long as he wanted to, he could hit all targets within the range of his ability. Up ahead, Bullseye threw the baseball again. With Li Shu's powerful perception, he could see the trajectory of the baseball. He threw out a small stone. Pung! The baseball that was flying through the air immediately exploded. On the ground, Daredevil was used to screaming from the intense pain every time Bullseye waved his hand. This time, he saw his opponent swing the baseball, and the next time, he screamed. However, he found that the pain did not come. He was at a loss. Bullseye frowned slightly. What's going on? Is it a coincidence? It should be a coincidence. The things I throw are so fast that it's impossible to hit him. Li Shu was too strong, so the things he threw out were so fast that Bullseye couldn't see what they were. The people around couldn't see them either. They were all at a loss. What's going on? Why isn't anything happening? Quote. The baseball exploded. What happened? Quote. Bullseye picked up a few more baseballs. Bang, bang, bang. In a very short time, a series of baseballs burst out and rushed toward Daredevil. Seeing this, the surrounding people all sucked in a breath of air. So many. It's over. He's going to kill him in one go. Quote. Is Daredevil going to die here? Li Shu grabbed a few stones and threw them out. Whoosh. Like a machine gun, the stones shot out one after another. Bang, bang, bang. The baseballs exploded in midair. They turned into baseball fragments and fell like petals. At this moment, people finally noticed Li Shu, who kept throwing. They all widened their eyes in disbelief. Bullseye was the most shocked of all. He looked at Li Shu in disbelief, as if he had seen a ghost. How is this possible? Someone could hit the things he threw out. Did the guy have strong eyesight and see the trajectory of the things he threw? Or could he accurately predict the trajectory of his baseballs and intercept them at a fixed point? Either way, it was extremely terrifying. This was equivalent to using a bullet to hit another bullet from high-speed movement. It was simply impossible to do. It required an extremely terrifying reaction speed. Was it possible for a human to have such a reaction speed? Bullseye didn't believe that a human could reach such a level. On the ground, Daredevil's heart was also in turmoil. Because his perception ability was amazing, he could clearly perceive that it was a flying rock that had exploded the baseball. And the stones were flying in the direction of the man not far away. This man can hit a high-speed movement baseball. He's too terrifying. He felt that the man was somewhat familiar. He sensed it more carefully and took a deep breath. The man was the terrifying smiling masked man. The man's already terrifying image was further deepened. Bullseye shook his head. No, no, no. How can a human do that? Quote. His face was slightly ferocious. I don't believe it. He picked up 5 baseballs again and threw them at Li Shu. Seeing this, Li Shu threw the stones again. 4 times. Bang, 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 bang. The baseballs exploded one by one again. Daredevil sensed that Li Shu had thrown one fewer ball than his opponent. That was to say, Li Shu would be severely damaged by the baseballs. Alarmed, he endured the pain and shouted, "Watch out. You missed 1 ball." Quote. Bullseye's face turned pale when he saw the baseballs explode one by one. But he was delighted when he sensed that his opponent missed 1 ball. He hit the target. He hurriedly pressed on, trying to take advantage of his opponent's mistake to completely defeat him. Bullseye was ecstatic. You're finished. He quickly took out several baseballs and was about to throw them. What he didn't know at this moment was that every effort he put in would be rewarded. Thanks for watching.